Hey everyone. Okay, I'm back for part 3. So let me share my screen and let's go to the module. So part 1 covered selecting your major, part 2 covered evaluating engineering programs, and now we're up to part 3, which is all about the engineering courses and your schedule at the universities. So the first thing we're looking at is the lower division engineering core file. So I'm going to open that up. And that's this right here. So, some terms you need to know. There's a term called lower division. You see it right here. And lower division is the first 2 years of an engineering program. So your freshman and sophomore level years. And upper division is junior and senior years. So if you're a community college student, you're taking all your lower division courses at Cabrillo, and then you transfer, and then you have your last 2 years at the university taking upper division courses. The other term you need to know is what a core course is. It's also called major core. It's basically the courses that are required for your major. It excludes the general ed courses. General ed is English and history and sociology or political science or all those kind of courses. The core courses are the major courses that you need. So that would be math, physics, engineering, computer science, and chemistry. Okay, so we're going to start looking at these courses first. And you notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections here. The first section says, the following core courses is recommended to help determine the field of engineering you want to pursue. And you're in Engineering 5 right now. And if I'm speaking to students who aren't in Engineering 5, you really want to take it. It's a hands-on class. You do a lot of design projects. You learn about all the fields of engineering to decide whether you want to be an engineer or not and what kind of engineer you're interested in. Okay, then the following core courses are required for transfer for all engineering majors. So no matter what you're majoring in terms of engineering and where you want to transfer to, you're going to have to take 3 semesters of calculus. You're going to have to take 7, Math 7, which is differential equations, and 2 physics courses, 4A and 4B. Okay, now we're going to the last 2 categories. The following core courses are required for transfer for most majors and transfer universities. So almost everyone has to take a Chem 1A class. Almost. Okay, so let me just talk about it. Chem 1A. There are some universities for electrical and computer engineering that you don't need a chemistry class. So that's the caveat, but otherwise almost all. Engineering 10 is required for San Jose State, Davis, some Berkeley majors, and then other schools are not requiring. Circuits is required for all majors, but not for civil engineering, the civil engineering category. Engineering 25, engineering 35 are required for all engineering, except not for electrical and computer. You have 1 programming class, and it depends on your major. And then engineering 45 is required for all, but not for electricals and not for civils. Sorry, it sounds so confusing, but I just know it in my head, but you're not going to need to know. I'm just rattling it off, just so you could tell, you could hear what the differences are. Math 6 is required for Cal Poly and all the UC schools, and 4C is required for everything but civil engineering at the state schools. So most of these courses you'll be taking. These courses right down here are what I call the question mark courses. So if you have a printout of this, you could put a question mark next to it. There are some chemistry classes. They are only required for the chem category of engineering. The CS courses are only required for the electrical and the computer engineering and software engineering. This is required for surveying. This is required for aerospace. This is required for mechanical and mechanical. Anyway, so it seems probably confusing at this point. Like, how are you going to determine which courses you need to take? So, and those of you who took CG51 STEM, you'll probably know which ones and how to look. So on here, it says these are all the lower division courses we just looked at. And now this is what we're going to look at now. And even those of you who are high school students who may not come to Cabrillo or community college, this is still really helpful for you because you're getting to see what the differences are in types of courses you need to take. Because if you go straight to the university, it's also going to be very similar. Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, so let's go to this one. And let's see, it says, what are the core courses transfer requirements? So if you're going to California Public University, you're going to look at Assist, and I'll show you how to use it. In addition, if you want to go to Cal Poly, besides looking at Assist, you're going to want to look at this also. I'm getting these calls. Okay, for Santa Clara, which is a private university, you can look at this. Santa Clara is in Santa Clara, so it's not that far away from here. Some students don't apply for private schools, but often private schools give you more scholarships than the public schools, which might actually make it cheaper than going to like a San Jose State or a Cal Poly. So it's definitely a school to look into. And then if you want to go to out-of-state schools or California private universities, then I look at flowcharts, and I'm going to show you how to do each one of these. Okay, so let's look at Assist for now. I'm going to open this up on my screen. Here's Assist. Very interesting. You start in the middle of the page. So let's say you're at Cabrillo. You put the university that you are at now. You put in a school that you're interested in going to. Let's say it's UC Davis. You put in Davis. And then you click on View Agreement. And then it's asking you to go to the left and you want to put in your major. So let's put in mechanical engineering. And here it is. I click on that. And then you see that there's a, paragraph words here, but notice this is written in two tables. This is Davis's classes and this is Cabrillo's classes. So if you scroll down, you'll notice, okay, if you want to transfer to Davis from Cabrillo in mechanical engineering, you need to make sure that you take Chem 1A and Chem 1B. So I'm looking from the right column because that's the Cabrillo class, but it does tell you what the equivalent courses are at Davis. And you might say, well, why are there 3 classes at Davis that are equal to 2 at Cabrillo? It's because Davis is on quarters. So that means you have to take 3 quarters of courses versus 2 semesters. Okay. Then they have some other options, but we don't offer those. And then you need to take engineering 25 and 26 and engineering 30, and you could keep going down to see. And what I want to show you now is I'm going to go back to the part 3 where we're concentrating on courses. And there's a checklist here. And I'm going to open up the checklist. And there's a table that you could either print out, or if you have a tablet that you could write right on the screen. Here's a checklist that says all the courses that we offer at Cabrillo, all the core courses that we offer at Cabrillo in engineering, and what their courses are called. And then notice at the top, it says your name, your date, your major, and then it gives you an option of putting 4 universities in here. So for the one we looked at, let's say we were interested in mechanical engineering, we would write mechanical engineering here. And then if we're thinking about UC Davis, we would write UC Davis here, and then start checking off what we saw. I know it wants 5A, 5B, 5C, 6, and 7. We saw it wants Chem 1A, Chem 1B. You're going to need some physics and some engineering, and you check off all those classes. And then maybe another school that you're thinking about is San Diego State. So write San Diego State and do the same thing. So in the end, when you go to apply to the universities, you're not going to just apply to one school. You're going to apply to a number of schools. So this way you could look at which universities am I interested in transferring to now, which universities appeal to me now, and you see what the course requirements are. Okay. And this is something we're going to be working on in class, or you could work on work in a class or at a class. Okay, I'm going to go back to the, we were still looking at what courses you need to take. So that's for the public institutions, and I'll cover the Cal Poly stuff in a little bit. Okay, then Santa Clara, you could click on this and it shows you exactly what you need for Santa Clara. So again, Assist works for all the CSUs and the UCs. But let's say you want to go to out of state or another California private school that's not close. Then you're going to need to check that university for the flow chart. So I gave you an example here, but I'm going to type it in myself. So I'm going to Google and I'm going to type in mechanical engineering. Let's say you want Colorado, University of Colorado, Boulder, and you're going to write flow chart. And typically it's the first hit, but sometimes it's a second. So I'm clicking on the first link. And there, it shows me exactly what courses I would have to take if I went in to University of Colorado Boulder for mechanical engineering in freshman year. And notice there's numbers down here. And notice there are 8 numbers. It's because there are 2 semesters in each year. So 1 and 2 is your freshman year, 3 and 4 is your sophomore year. So that means 1 to 4 is the lower division. So I could sit down with you and tell you exactly what these classes are. This is Math 5A, this is Physics 4A, this is Engineering 35, this is Engineering 36, this one is Engineering 40, this is Math 6 and 7, etc. So I can look through these and figure them out. So the magic name, the magic word to put in the search bar was flowchart. If I go back, I put in the search, I put mechanical engineering, Colorado Boulder. So I put the university, I put the major, and I put the word flowchart. And if you go back to my directions, sure enough, that's what it says. Put the university name, put the major and flowchart, and up will pop that list out. And that will help us complete that checklist. Okay, now let me go on to Cal Poly. Cal Poly, yes, it's a CSU. I could use assist if I want. However, let's go to this page as well. So Cal Poly is something called major specific transfer criteria. There are community colleges that don't teach all the engineering courses. So Cal Poly wants to still encourage them to apply. But of course, since a community college that doesn't offer all the engineering doesn't have all the lower division, so a student would be at Cal Poly for maybe 3 years or 4 years, depending on what they are able to complete at a community college. Luckily at Cabrillo, we have all the courses that you need. So we have a lot of students who transfer to Cal Poly and they just have 2 years left when they get there. Okay, so on this page, I'm going to click on, let's go to mechanical. So there's mechanical engineering and I'm going to click submit. So what Cal Poly allows, I'm going to click on, let's just say fall 26. What they're doing is they're listing courses that if you don't have them, they're not going to accept you to Cal Poly. This is like the minimum to get in. And they write the minimum because they're trying to accommodate those students who are at a community college that don't have engineering or don't have much engineering. So they have some GE classes you need. You need all the calculus and you need linear algebra and differential equations. You need our 3 physics classes. You need only one of our chemistry classes. You do not need 2 of our chemistry classes. You only need 1. And then you need our engineering 35 and our engineering 15 and our engineering 30. And then they're also saying desired, they also want to see engineering 25 and engineering 45. Even though these are considered desired, I'm sure you know by now that a lot of people want to go to Cal Poly. So if you don't have the desired courses, you're probably not going to get in. You want to take as much as you can. So I would still go to assist and make sure that you're taking all the classes. But I could do, I could do the same thing I do to the universities that are not on assist. I could say Cal Poly, mechanical engineering, flowchart. I could do this with any school. And here, sure enough, it's the first link. Here is what students would take in their first 2 years at Cal Poly. So they're taking, let me think, this is engineering 12. This is all the math. This is the 3 physics courses. This is engineering 40. we only need one. Cal Poly right now is still on quarters. Next year, 26, 27, they're going to be on semesters. So keep that in mind. For 26, if you're watching this video in 26, 27 or beyond, they're going to be on semesters. But right now they're still on quarters. So their students have to take 2 chemistry classes, but we only have to take 1. There is engineering 35, engineering 36, there's engineering 40, etc. Okay, so let's go back to the module. So we looked at the list of lower division courses, which was this page that lists the courses that you could list all our courses. Then the next one was how to find out what you need to take. And that was this page. And then the checklist is there. So once you have the checklist completed, then you know what courses you need at Cabrillo. And then what you do is you move to the critical path. And the critical path let me just let you look at it for a minute. It's a flow chart, right? Let's look at one of the last classes you take at Cabrillo is Engineering 15. Well, Engineering 15 requires 4B. See how there's a solid line? It means that 4B is a prerequisite of 15. This is a dashed line, which means you could take Math 7 at the same time as 15, or you could take Math 7 before. So it's a pre or co-requisite. Then in order to take 4B, you have to have taken Math 5B, and you have to be in 5C or have taken 5C. It's dashed. So the solid lines mean it's a prerequisite. A dashed line means it's a hybrid prerequisite. And a dotted line means it's recommended. So in order to take Engineering 45, it's required to have taken Chem 1A and Physics 4A. It's recommended to take Math Chem 1B. But some universities don't need Chem 1B. You don't need it. So you don't take it. And we just teach you the material in Chem 1B that you need. So the fact that I started from the right, knowing these are the last classes you take at Cabrillo, if I go all the way over to the left, these are the courses that you first start taking at Cabrillo. And they're the classes that have little prerequisites. So for instance, Engineering 12, which is a machining class, Engineering 5, both of these classes have no prerequisites. So you could take them whenever you want. You could take them at the beginning. Let's say Math 5A has a prerequisite of pre-calc. So if you took pre-calc in high school, you could go straight into 5A. But if you didn't take pre-calc, you probably want to take pre-calc to be successful in 5A. So once you fill out the checklist, then I have students highlight all the courses they need so we could look at what the path would be while you're at Cabrillo and what you need to take. And again, those of you who are high school students, yes, I'm using all the numbering system for Cabrillo, but these are the same type of classes you would take, even if you went straight from high school to a 4-year school. So once we have all this filled out, then the next step would be to work with a engineering faculty advisor, which is me, Arlene, Kelly, Carl, Prithvi, any of us engineering faculty to help you do your schedule, or you could see one of the STEM counselors, Lauren, Sabine. Those are the 2 STEM counselors. There's also a MESA counselor, Sandra, who's up in the STEM center. So you have 5 engineering faculty you could see, and there are 3 counselors you could see. Okay. And I really suggest that you see one of us 8, because we are the ones that are well versed on what these courses are and how demanding or not demanding they are in helping you. And some of these courses you may not be required to transfer, but you might want to take them because they give you skills to get an internship. Okay. And I'm going to write that down so that I make sure that I add that, because I want to talk about internships when we're in class. Okay, so now let's go back to, make this bigger. So we looked at the core courses, we looked at what we look at to find out which ones we need. We have the checklist, we have the critical path. And then the last thing that you need to know what you take is the general ed requirements. So I'm gonna click on the general ed requirements. And it says, let's go to the general ed requirements and I'm gonna click on here. Okay, and there's we'll just scroll down, okay? So general ed, I just like to look for links, so I'm gonna keep going. Okay, here it is. So I'll just start from the beginning again. So there are two different GE patterns. One is what you take if you're only gonna get a 2-year degree at Cabrillo and then go to work. And the other one is if you want to transfer. So you could click on this if you want, or you could scroll down and they have the two different ones here. So let's just click on this. Okay, so let's read it. So in area 1, which is called English Communications, you have to take an English composition class. And they put in some nice check boxes: planned, in progress, completed. And then you need a critical thinking class, which could be English or the Philosophy 49. And then you need an oral communication class. Okay, so those are the 3 GEs that are critical for you to take. Okay, then math. You're going to have taken so much math, so you're going to not even have to look at area 2. Let's look at area 3. Area 3A says we need 3 units, which is only 1 GE course. So you could take 1 course from any of these classes. Then 3B is humanities. Again, you need a 3-unit class, so you could pick any one of these classes. Okay, let's go to area 4. Area 4, you need 6 units. It says area 4 must be taken from 2 different disciplines. So you can't take 2 history classes. You can take a history and an anthro class. All right, so these are transfer requirements too. It's just not the major core courses you need, it's general education. So you need these 3 classes, right? You need 1 3-unit math class, but you're going to have taken that. You need 1 3A, you need 1 3B, and you need 2 from area 4. Then physical and biological sciences, you need 7 units. For 5A, you're going to need physical sciences. You're going to have taken enough chemistry and physics anyway. 5B, you're going to need 1 biological science. And one of them has to have a lab. Well, you're going to take a bunch of lab. You'll take a lab in chem and you'll take a bunch of labs in physics. Okay. In addition, you need an area 6 ethnic studies. And this is a new requirement. So you either have an English class or an ethnic studies or a history or sociology. So we can double count. So look at this, history 21A. And now let's go up to where history is up here. Here it is. Area 4, there's history 21A. If you take 21A, it counts for area A and it counts for area 6. Cool, right? Okay, so that's the general ed requirements. So I'm going to start closing some of these windows here. Okay, so now we really finished part 3. We looked at the possible courses you need. We looked at how to figure out which courses you need. We did a checklist and then the critical path. And what we're going to be doing in class or with one of the faculty advisors is we're going to be making up your schedule for you. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording now. There are other topics here that I'm going to cover in class, but I'll be covering them in class. Okay, thanks.